So it worked out, but
Yeah.
that was basically when people started moving into cities
Right.
with sewage
Right.
systems.
So roughly speaking, people started getting appendicitis around the time we started getting like other allergies and things like that.
Yes, that is correct. Yes.
Okay, so
Yeah,
it's correlated
inflammatory
with
bowel.
the development of what we call modern society, and so people started getting appendicitis, and it has something to do with the immune system overreacting. What happens? So when you take, a lot of people have had their appendix removed over the last several decades. Is there anything that happens after people get their appendix removed where we can see like they have a problem with something like digestion or anything that hints at what that appendix was doing for them?
Right. So based on the biology of the system, we can tell that it's essentially the appendix itself is a safe house for beneficial bacteria, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
it's out of the way. If you get, say, cholera or something and it flushes out the main system, the appendix can be used as a reboot mechanism. But in modern society, we don't have a lot of those kinds of infectious diseases. And what we do have, those, a lot of antibiotics. And most antibiotics, but not all, most of those will, and it was somebody who was interviewing me. He said, "That sounds like you're deleting your backup drive," and that's a pretty good
Hmm.
analogy.
Hmm.
Is that you've got this backup supply of bacteria inside your appendix, and of course, in modern times, sometimes our bacteria can sort of go bad. You start reacting to your own bacteria, and your bacteria themselves, your microbiota, begins to have some problems, and we can talk about that if you want. I know you've had other guests talking about that, but the bottom line is, if you if you could somehow go to a hunter-gatherer society, you would be, if you were missing your appendix, you would have a lot more problems recovering from an infection
Right.
because your backup drive isn't there. Now, of course, in modern times, they're going to give you antibiotics, which are broad
Right.
spectrum.
Right.
They're going to delete the bacteria in your appendix anyway, so it really doesn't. One clinician said, "Well, this is all just theoretical." Like, well, it's biology that we kind of circumvent with modern
Right,
medicine.
right. It's like, yeah, the backup drive being gone is only going to be a problem if you actually really need the backup drive. But if you've got ways to get around that loss, then it would appear, as it did appear to so many people, that this thing wasn't doing anything at all.
Right, and maybe in modern society it really doesn't do much, right? Because
Mhm.
we don't get cholera and
Right.
typhoid, maybe dysentery. And the best study has been done, a European study. Michel Lauren, who I know, he did a great job just looking at non-human primates, and it gives them a huge advantage in terms of survival from diarrhea. They just don't get, if they have an appendix, they get a lot less. They get a less prevalence of severe diarrhea. They still get diarrhea, but it's just not as severe as
Mhm.
animals without an appendix get.
Yeah. So basically, the idea here is if you've got something like severe diarrhea or an infection like cholera, something that's basically going to flush out your whole GI tract, you want something. To the extent that happens, an animal is going to want something that quickly repopulates their gut microbiome the way they want it, this backup drive, so to speak. The appendix might be serving that function. Do we have any hard data on, when people get, or other species, when they get diseases that result in severe diarrhea, that it is in fact doing that? It's repopulating the gut. Are they more prone to gut issues after having certain GI problems if they're missing the appendix?
Yeah, so that's what Michelle's data showed, is that if you have an appendix, you just recover from diarrhea much faster, and it doesn't
Hmm.
become severe and protracted. That's the bottom line.